In this video, I'll be showing you how to deal with the plague.
In the name of the Father, the Son,
the plague can seem like a nightmare to go against as a survivor. She can infect them and disable their ability to heal, infect virtually any object on the map and make it contagious to survivors, and become overpowered if survivors cleanse their sickness at fountains. How is anyone expected to survive a disease like this? To cure any illness, you first have to identify what it is and how it works. So let's review the plague's power and the effects it has on survivors. When a survivor initially becomes infected, they'll begin coughing, which is the only downside to being diseased at first. All players will see the infected survivor's portrait turn a sickly green color, which also doubles as a countdown timer. As an infected player performs actions such as running or interacting with objects, their timer will decrease until they have become fully infected. Partially infected players are not contagious to their teammates, and don't suffer any status effects aside from coughing. Now there are two small but important things I'd like to mention about being infected. First, neither Iron Will nor Calm Spirit can stop a survivor from coughing, which makes these perks useless against the plague. And second, the countdown timer is only visible to the survivor team. The plague can see which survivors are infected, but not how much time they have left. Now once a survivor becomes fully infected, they'll suffer the broken status effect, which prevents them from healing by any means. Any objects they interact with will become infected as well, which can spread their disease to allies if they touch them. The infected survivor will also emit disease clouds and begin vomiting periodically, making them significantly easier to find. If the plague is using her Black Incense add-on, she'll also be able to see survivor auras when they vomit. The only way to cleanse sickness is by drinking from a pool of devotion. This takes 6 seconds to complete, and once the survivor has used a fountain, the killer will hear a notification and see the aura of the fountain that was used. Additionally, any fountains used by survivors become corrupt, which allow the plague to use them and upgrade her power. Plague's empowered ability, Corrupt Purge, can immediately damage survivors, making her significantly more dangerous in chases. However, two drawbacks of Corrupt Purge are that it only lasts 60 seconds, and it loses its ability to infect objects and survivors. So now that we know how her power works, how do we stop it? While it's unrealistic to think that you can go a full game against Plague without being infected, there are a number of strategies you can use to help minimize the impact it has on your gameplay. Let's start with just a basic strategy of not getting hit by her vomit in the first place. Taking some numbers into consideration, Plague requires 1.6 seconds to charge her power, and it lasts up to 2 seconds when fired. It also has a max range of 13 meters, and a slow travel speed as a projectile. This means that survivors should avoid running in a straight line, because this makes it easier for Plague to land hits on them. Instead, they should take advantage of her vomit's slow projectile speed and evade getting spit on by changing direction. Turning corners, running around trees, or otherwise throwing off her aim will all make it more difficult for Plague to hit them with her power. However, survivors should keep in mind that Plague can partially charge her power to use it faster, so staying alert for her visual and audio cues is key at certain moments. Another strategy is to be mindful of where and when you use fountains. While using fountains at all may seem like a bad idea since it gives Plague the ability to use Corrupt Purge, it can be just as dangerous to stay injured the whole game. So if you need to cleanse infection, pick a fountain that's either far away from the killer's current location, or near a completed generator where none of your allies are likely to be. And remember that after a fountain is used, the Plague can see its aura, so have an escape route planned ahead of time. When it comes to helping teammates, sometimes being infected will make you the survivor that's best suited for the job. If the downed or hooked player also happens to be infected, saving them yourself can allow the healthy survivors on your team to stay disease-free longer. However, if you happen to be the healthy survivor and see an infected ally who needs help with something, depending on how critical the situation is, avoiding them might be a better decision. If you happen to be infected but want to stay in the healthy state for as long as possible, you can stand still, walk, or crouch to prevent your infection timer from ticking. This can be useful if you need to perform a risky action like saving a teammate. In situations where Plague has her Corrupt Purge active, in most cases, it's a good idea to wait for it to expire. Corrupt Purge is even more dangerous than the Huntress's hatchets, and is capable of hitting multiple survivors in one cast. However, just like Vile Purge, you can still use tight corners and line of sight blockers to prevent getting hit by it. You can also stun the Plague using a pallet, flashlight save, or decisive strike to immediately cancel Corrupt Purge. And finally, Remember that without her Corrupt Purge, the Plague has the same movement speed, tear radius, and capabilities of all basic killers, making her one of the easiest to loop. So that's it for these tips on how to counter the Plague. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe for future content.